Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
So you're looking so good. Oh my God. Oh,
Oh, goodness.
you're looking so good and lovely.
Thanks,
Oh, yeah.
love.
So in 8 minutes, we're going to start this. So let's wait for others to join, and then hopefully we begin in by 4 p.m. GMT exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we start, can you make me a host so
Oh,
that I can
yeah.
share
Let me do
my...
that right now. Okay. Yeah.
I don't care when you look at that. You got my eyelashes. They couldn't deliver them. That doesn't give them your DNA. You'd be surprised the power of these hands.
What's the application for?
Look at Owen.
Cute.
Have you been up to see Natalie?
Hi.
What?
Please make sure your speaker is connected properly.
Your speaker?
Something's wrong with the speaker.
Your laptop?
Yeah.
How? Maybe this is not the laptop.
Nice to see you. Bobby, back so soon? Yeah, my piece this time. What happened to your shoes? There's this new guy, Michelle. Okay. Oh. I'm shooting it right first, particularly the gender. How did you learn about it? Okay.
Just go.
Yeah, I'm stuck now. My stuff's not working.
Okay. I think it's 4 p.m. now, so we can begin. begin our meeting. You're all welcome to today's workshop. I'm so glad that you all took time of your busy schedules to actually join this and then learn from Dr. Bree. And so let me do a little introduction before Dr. Bree comes in. Okay, so Dr. Bree, the OT, is an energetic and highly qualified occupational therapist. She currently lives and serves as an OT in Botswana and Kenya. She obtained her master's in occupational therapy from the University of Illinois at Chicago. She also completed her doctorate in occupational therapy at the University of Texas Medical Branch. She has diverse work experiences, including settings in homes, schools, hospitals, in private practice, telehealth, corporate, and in the clinic. She is very passionate about connecting, collaborating, educating, and advocating for families within the community. She is dedicated to improving the quality of life of all her clients. Dr. Bree strives to engage her clients' family members in home programs to ensure maximum success. She believes that success is ultimately achieved by fostering an environment which is warm, personable, and professional. She hopes to spread disability awareness and advocate for individuals with disabilities. So this is the summary of Dr. Bree, but I bet you she's amazing. I met her in person and it was awesome. I was just amazed with the good work that she's doing in Africa, that's Botswana and Kenya to be precise. And now she's even helping Ghana by deciding to do a workshop to help us here. So thank you so much, Dr. Bree, and welcome to today's workshop. So I'm going to hand it over to you to take it from here. Yes, so over to you, Dr. Bree.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Sorry. Hey, thank you. I'm very excited for today. I think it's 4 o'clock you guys' times. It's 6 o'clock in Botswana. So just real quick, I'm going to ask for us to turn on our cameras, just if you can, just so I can see all the faces that I'm talking to, who I'm interacting with today. I see names, but it would be cool just to see who I'm talking to. Yeah, put a face to all the names if you can. So. Hey, Grace, you look beautiful. Hey, Catherine. Who else do I see? Where are you guys at? No? Okay. All right. So I just want to let you know, give you a brief real quickly that this will be very interactive. So I need my energy to come to you and your energy to come to me. So that's why I asked you guys to turn on the cameras really fast. But I'm hoping that this will be very interactive, informative, and please stop me at any point. I think with Zoom, you can raise your hand. So let's do that as, you know, you can do emojis for that. If you have any questions, just go to the emojis and pick an emoji and I'll see that you have a question or if you have any concerns or anything like that while I'm talking. But let's get right into it. So, all right. All right. Okay. So I titled this today Into the Unknown because sensory is like the topic. And then before we start, could we everybody mute themselves? Okay. All right. Yes, so I titled this Into the Unknown because sensory is such a like complicated word, complicated aspect. And so it's into the unknown. So we're diving deep into the unknown today. And I'm Dr. Briana OTD. You can follow me on social media. I'm pretty sure we've all connected some way, somehow now. But I also want to give a special shout out to the wonderful OTs that I met when I was in Ghana. It was an amazing time. We had an amazing time together, just chatting it up. So I just want to give a shout out to you guys and thank you as well for everything that you continue to do for your community. Woo-hoo.
Thank you. Thank you too.
Okay, so let's get right into it. So basically I'll be doing introductions about what sensory is. And then from there, it'll be understanding sensory systems and explore strategies for sensory. And I hope that you will be able to become familiar with various sensory systems, understand types of sensory differences, also identify strategies that help with various sensory differences. So I just need a thumbs up in the chat or on your screens, like an emoji, just to let me know that everybody can hear me. Everybody, I'm not talking too fast. Just give me a thumbs up if everybody can hear me and if I'm not talking too fast. And then give me an emoji if I talk too fast, and I will definitely change my pace. Cool. All right. Okay, let's get right into it. So, happy Autism Spectrum Disorder Awareness Month. I want to know if you guys can solve some of these myths. So yes, I'm asking for participation. So I'm asking for, are you ready? So, solve this myth. People with autism don't want friends. Can I have a volunteer? Anybody? No? I want you to solve the myth. So what is incorrect about this? Anybody?
Okay, so I'm going to say that people with autism have social interaction challenges. That's why people think that they do not want to make friends.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So most likely they struggle with social interactions, which may distract people from thinking that it's difficult. However, it may just be that they may seem shy or unfriendly. Another myth is that individuals.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Please, how are you?
Individuals on the spectrum cannot lead independent and successful lives. So that is a myth. The truth is they may grow and be very successful contributors to society. All individuals on the spectrum have talent or savant skills. That is a myth. And the truth is that they may have special abilities in like arts, music, but it doesn't make that all of them have special savant skills. Also, let's see, individuals on this do not have feelings and thus are unable to show affection. So that's a myth as well. And they do give affection. It may be different due to sensory processing or social understanding. And autism can be outgrown. That is a myth. The truth is children do not outgrow autism, but symptoms may lessen or change as a child develops and receive appropriate interventions. Another myth is people with autism can't talk. We all know that is a myth. Communication is more than talking. We have nonverbal communication and communication devices. to help them communicate with us. And then autism can be cured. Is that a myth? It is definitely a myth. There's no current cure for autism. So you solve some of the myths about autism. That was a fun little game about autism, just to say Autism Awareness Month. So I saw you guys post. That was amazing in your quotes. Also, happy OT month. So shout out to all the OT students, doing all that you do. And I want to know, could one person explain OT? Like, what is your, you know how they have the elevator speech? What is your elevator speech? Any volunteers about what your OT elevator speech is? Guys, we gonna be on here for a little minute, so you gotta interact with me. I know it's late in the day and it's Saturday, but you gotta help me out. So can anybody do their
Occupational therapist, Dr. Brian.
Okay. You go ahead. You can go ahead. Say it. What's your OT elevator speech? Hello? All right. So help me out. You gotta help me out. Anybody? I'm gonna ask one more time. How would you do your OT? Explain what OT is, just in 20 seconds. Well,
Sure.
I don't know if you know anybody else to give them a shout out or say, hey, it's 39 of us on here. I know somebody could give an elevator speech about what OT is.
Yes, so I'm going to shout out Hafiz to give us that elevated speech about occupational therapy.
All right. Is she going?
Okay, so I could talk. Okay, so Hafiz is ready now. I think.
Okay. Hafiz, you ready? And 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so Dr. Bree, to me,
Yeah.
when I hear occupational, when I want to explain occupational therapy, I say that it is a profession whose main aim is to help patients function to their best to the best level, to the maximum level, get them to a point where they reach their maximum potential in terms of function. So that is how I would describe occupational therapy to another person when they ask me what it is.
Awesome. Thank you so much for volunteering. I'm gonna let you guys know right now. Like I said, we're gonna be very interactive. So I need you guys to participate with me a little bit more, okay? All right. Okay, so OT supports people across the lifespan, and we do activities that people need help and want to do. Basically, we help people live their lives to the fullest, as we all know. So here's a small visual. And if you want this visual, you can definitely get it from me. Just ask and I'll send it to you via email. Usually I give this to parents, explaining what OT is and then how the developmental milestones. So it's just kind of that indicator. If you have a patient or you see someone that you kind of know they need services, but you know the parent's a little standoffish or something, then you can give them some type of small resource and say, hey, take a look at this, and then allow them to come to terms kind of by themselves. So in the chat, yes, in the chat, what are you doing to celebrate OT month? In the chat. Let me know what you're doing to celebrate OT month. In the chat, I'm waiting for some answers. What are you doing to celebrate OT month? All right, social media, turn up, turn up. Anybody else? Okay. And you gotta help me out here. Everybody gonna be like this the whole time. Okay, so for OT month, I usually do like a fun video of creating awareness. Thank you. The various awesome. Educating people how OT is helpful. That's amazing. Yes, Rebecca, go ahead. You can speak.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is to wear my OT t-shirt and then do a photo shoot. I want to advertise on all social media platforms, telling people that I am an OT, and then educate people how to take care of their kids, their individuals, then also put myself out there so that if anybody needs help, they can come directly to me.
Awesome. I love it. Girl, I love the photo shoot though. I might have to do that too. Ooh-wee. Okay. Awesome. So, okay, go ahead, Rebecca. Did you have something else to say? No? Okay.
Hello, everyone. It's Briana OT here, and I want to come to you with a special video for the month of April. Yes, April is OT month, where we celebrate the profession of occupational therapy. As many of you know, I love to work with kids, so let me tell you what it is.
I basically created a rap. Don't judge my rapping skills.
Now, most people ask me, what's OT? Listen up and hear this song from me. Occupation is whatever that brings you life. You got eating, education, even riding a bike. Providing services to kids is what I do. So they can win, laugh, and you'll smile too. Fine motor, gross motor, please ask me what it is. Kids learn through play. I'm helping families every day, turning play into function, bringing sensory to life. Family thrilled, hey, we living the best life, strength and skills. A home program, I got that for you. OT, OT, OT. Ask me what I do. Change the world for every boy and girl. OT, me.
Awesome. So yeah, so that was like my OT awareness, OT month fun. During lockdown, I did that video. That was the first time I did that video. But okay, we're going back in the chat. In the chat, I want you to write one thing you hope to learn from this session. So I'm about to start going into the sensory aspect of everything, but I want you to write one thing in the chat that you hope to learn from this session. Why are you here? Let me know in the chat what you hope to learn. Thanks, guys. Let me know in the chat one thing you hope to learn from this session. Interventions, okay. Anybody else? Awesome. Strategies for children with sensory processing disorder to help children self-regulate. Hoping to learn how to solve sensory needs in people, especially children. Awesome, 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 awesome. So I'm happy that you guys are here today because we're going to go through a lot of different things, but I feel like what we need to do first is put on our thinking caps. As a pediatric OT, we know we have to get down to the level of our kids. So I'm asking you guys to stay involved with me, stay interacting with me throughout the presentation, but also put on your thinking caps because I want to challenge you in some ways throughout the presentation. All right. All right. So get your chat ready. In the chat, I want you to tell me which one do you prefer, sand or snow? So you either write sand or okay, snow. Oh, what? Y'all live in a hot country. Okay, loud or soft? Hot or cold?
What then they compare?
Travel or stay home? Awesome. Big or small? Dancing or listening? Okay. Sweet or salty? Hot. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks guys for participating. So I want you guys to realize that we all have our differences, but we also have similarities. And that brings us to the topic of sensory. So I'm gonna skip this one, but we are bombarded with millions of sensory stimuli every second. When I say we're bombarded, it's meaning right now, you're even experiencing a sensory exploration. Your ears are turned on, you're listening to me, but also some of you may be annoyed by my accent. And so there's a lot of different sensory stimuli happening around you in your environment. And then some of them we're aware about and some of them we're not aware about. So we all know processing sensory can affect our social interactions, motor skills, and attentions. So this is just some of the basics of sensory processing information. Before we get into interventions, evaluations, and different things like that, I just wanted to lay the foundation of what the process of sensory information for the brain is. And so as we know that the sensory is neurological, so it's the neurons connecting in our body and how we receive, organize, and regulate information that flows through our body on a constant basis. So sensory processing results in this meaningful picture that we get on a daily basis all the time. So for example, I don't know if you guys know how to ride a bike, but when you're learning how to ride a bike, that is a whole sensory explanation or exploration that you go through where you have to figure out where your body is in space. How am I interacting with the body, with the bike? How am I moving my feet and my arms, and what am I thinking? Which way am I going to turn? So it's a whole sensory explanation for ourselves. We're receiving a lot of sensory. And so sensory processes is a complicated work for the brain that performs information, and it gives us a flooding information from the environment. So, so when, okay, so when the body is unable to, when the body is unable to perceive, organize, and respond to the stimuli appropriately, that is when we have sensory processing disorder. From school, you should have learned, or if there's any parents in here, you should have learned as well, that sensory processing influences behavior, and sometimes it impedes learning, impacts movement and coordination. A lot of the sensory concerns that typically come up are usually with children with autism. And so about 8 in 10 individuals with autism are affected with sensory processing disorder. So do you guys know what this is? Have you seen this before? If you've seen this before, give me a thumbs up. A thumbs up if you've seen this before. I just want to know. Okay, awesome. Let me know if you've seen this before. Okay, we got a couple thumbs up. So that means if you've seen this before, then you know kind of the process of sensory processing disorder. And so you have sensory processing disorder is classified in 3 different categories or 3 different broad categories, which is sensory modulation disorder, sensory-based motor disorder, and sensory discrimination disorder. So I'm going to ask for a volunteer, or you can write in the chat what you think what is sensory modulation disorder? Anybody, you can write in the chat what sensory modulation disorder is. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Any? All right, I'll go straight into it. Sensory modulation disorder is a pattern in which individuals have difficulty regulating sensory input. So if somebody over responds to the sensory input, what is the reaction you may see if they over respond? You in the chat, what is something you may see if a child over responds to sensory information? No? Okay, I'm gonna go straight into it. I'm just gonna keep going because I think we probably need a little bit more education on this. So sensory modulation disorder, when you have the information and you over respond, it may result in yelling, screaming, or for example, if I start to blow bubbles for a child and they like, oh Lord, oh my God, you know, or they start crying or they're running away from the bubbles, that would be, yes, biting. That would be an over response. An under response, and if I blew bubbles and the kid is just like, nice. Look at those bubbles. And like not paying attention to it or just don't really care about it. And then sensory craving, sensory seeking is if I blew bubbles and now they're grabbing a stick from me. They want more bubbles. They didn't, you know, they're reacting to say it's more, or they love the feeling of the bubbles on them. So they may be trying to put the stick on their skin. So that's an example of sensory modulation disorder. So it's the over response, under response, and that craving of sensory information. And then we did sensory-based motor disorder. Sensory-based motor disorder, it comes with the body awareness, how a child would receive the information from the motor aspect. So you may see this in postural disorder, where the child may be slunched over, or they have a heart, they may be running into walls, or you see that their core strength is kind of weak. And then in dyspraxia, again, difficulty thinking, planning, and organizing those skills to have movements throughout the day. And then the last part of sensory processing disorder, so that was classified under 3, is sensory discrimination disorder. All right. And that's difficulty filtering and interpreting sensory information. And so that consists of your auditory, visual, different things like that, your senses, and having a harder time discriminating between those things. And sometimes this can be a cross-sex. So they can be affected with a motor disorder, and they can have sensory modulation disorder. Sometimes they can have all 3, but overall, it will be sensory processing disorder. These are just how they classified. All right. So in the chat, I want you to write, how many senses do we have? Do we have 2? Do we have 4? In the chat, how many senses do we have? I'm gonna wait for this one. Five, 8, 5, 5, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 8/9, 5, 8. Okay. Okay. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 8, 8, 8. All right. 5. Okay. All right. You guys ready for the answer? I need a volunteer. Name all the senses. I'm going to call on somebody. Let's see. Who do I want to call on? Emily. Emily, can you name all the senses? Emily. I'm waiting for you. You can unmute yourself and name all the senses. Emily.
Hello.
Hi. Can you name all the senses?
Touch, smell, vestibular, proprioception, and then taste.
Uh-huh.
Hey, there's some granny. No more free.
Thank you, Emily. You can mute yourself now. Thank you so much. All right, so there are 8 senses. 8. Tactile, which is touch. Visual, which is vision. Auditory, which is hearing. Gustatory, which is smell. Oh, nope, gustatory is oral, sorry. Olfactory, which is smell. Vestibular, proprioceptive, and the last one is interoceptive. So do we know the right answer is 8? So all you people that said 7 and 5, we have 8 senses. Thank you so much, Kofu, for naming some of them. So yes, we have more than just 5 senses. 5 of them are environmental, which is tactile, vision, hearing, olfactory, and oral. So those have to deal with the environment around us. The extra 3 that people sometimes don't know about is the body-centered senses. So that's vestibular, which is movement, and interoceptive, which is your internal body organs, and then proprioceptive, which is body awareness. So I'm going to go through some of these. But again, I have another visual for you. Just email me if you want it. I usually give this to parents as well, to kind of break down the 8 senses so that they can understand their child. So in the chat, I want to know, what is your pet peeve? Do you guys know what pet peeves are? Like something that irritates you. So for example, I want to know what your pet peeve is and which sensory system that it's connected to. So for example, I think sometimes I have like a weak sense of smell. And if somebody stink, or if I smell something I'm gonna be like, this is a no. So I have a pet peeve about like funkiness, right? So, so I want to know like what's something that kind of like sets you off, just like, nah. And then what sensory is connected to? Go ahead, Abigail. Go ahead, Abigail. Abigail, did you have something? No? Okay. I'm gonna read the chat. Loud chewing, yes. Oh my gosh. Noisy places. Ooh. The screeching sound from the top of the soda bottle. I don't know what that, oh, like if they slide it across like something. I get you. Dust. I can see you saying dust. Awesome. Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to go to tactile. Tactile processing, touch. The ability to discriminate different types of touches. So you have textures, shapes, sizes, different objects in the environment that you touch on a daily basis. Some of you may be touching your phone right now. Some of you may be, I don't know, touching water bottles. Let me get some water. And some of these, like when you're cooking, you may accidentally touch the hot stove, which may be a threatening or non-threatening touch sensation. So touch, we know touch. When you see a child that has tactile dysfunction, this what you may see. One, a learning disability. Touch can be very distracting. So imagine a child in school and the tags are irritating them. You see them constantly fidgeting their clothes. You see them constantly trying to take off one of their clothing objects. This can be distracting and lead to learning disabilities. Also, with tactile dysfunctions, it can lead to impaired social skills. I mean, now with the pandemic, most of us are elbowing, which has probably given some children with this, if they have tactile dysfunctions, because we used to shake hands or used to hug. And sometimes hugs, shaking hands can impair, if they don't like that feeling, then they can impair the social skills. Sometimes tactile dysfunction can lead to poor imagination. Think about a kid going, don't judge me. I don't know why I got this brush right here, but think about a kid going shoo, 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 and playing with different toys, okay? So if they don't like to touch different things, it can lead to poor imagination. Also inflexible and rigid, meaning they're kind of like, oof, like that. They may have eating challenges. Touch also has to do, it coincides with oral. So think about different textures of food, the size of different fooding, and so they can have some eating challenges. Also, when we touch our food, when I had the opportunity to come to Ghana, I love fufu, I love the stews and everything, but everybody can't pick up food with their hands or eat like that. And so that may be eating challenges. Also, my grandma used to have like these forks and spoons with different artwork on it. And I used to hate touching the end of the fork and the spoon. So she would always have to buy me forks and spoons that were like smooth or something like that. And so this can also lead to tantrums, hitting, kicking, and other responses. They may be inappropriate. Any questions about that, just let me know and you can raise your hand about tactile dysfunction. As I'm moving on, visual processing is also the ability to identify and interpret visual stimuli. So vision, our eyes, is how we process what we see, basically. Sometimes you may see challenges in children if they, one, head tilt, squint, they may be constantly rubbing their eyes, they may have decreased attention, so they may be looking around, or I'm pretty sure you've seen some children with autism that kind of stim, but this is also giving them sensory input from the visual aspect if they're stimming an object in front of their eye. Or they look at objects a certain way. You may also see with some children with autism that, or different, they kind of look to the side, you know, so that can be the sensation that they're seeking for in visual. Make sense? So with visual processing difficulties, you have trouble tracking sensation, you have trouble tracking. So for example, tracking is being able to look different ways. You may have sensitivity to bright lights, different things like that. You may also see some children have dyslexia or difficulty reading. Got it? Got it. All right, we're gonna move on. Auditory. So auditory is your hearing, the ability to receive, discriminate, filter sound. So we love to listen to music. I think in the the game that we played earlier, a lot of you guys said listening. So yes, this is how we process hearing. And some children with altered auditory systems may be hypersensitive to sound, meaning this is when you see them covering their ears or you see them not liking loud places. Hypo means they have no regulation of understanding sound, meaning that the sound, it doesn't bother them as much. They just kind of like, okay. They may also have the inability to filter backgrounds. So I can be talking to you right now and you may be at a concert, but it's hard for you to hear what I'm saying with everything else going on in your environment. Also, they may be stressed in noisy environments and then appear withdrawn in noisy environments too. So that's hearing. Auditory processing difficulties can cause poor memory and sequencing, trouble following direction. Just imagine you not being able to process a lot of your hearing. Yes, you have trouble paying attention. Sometimes with hearing, you hear a lot of my patients in Botswana are starting to pick up my accent. So it's kind of funny that that auditory process also leads to language and speech problems. So, and also anxiety. So you ever seen some kids that have a hard time going to the bathroom because they don't want to hear the flush of the toilet, or the bathroom has like an echo in it. They may have difficulty with where, what, when questions with auditory difficulty. That's what it can cause. And also social skills. All right, moving on. Olfactory, which is smell. It helps us to differentiate between thousands of different odors and determine they are dangerous, foul, pleasurable, strong, or faint. So smell. This is how we establish some of our memories. So I'm pretty sure all of us have memories of like when you smell something. For example, like Christmas, and we're eating our favorite food or something, and you smell it cooking, that you just have memories of Christmas. All right. And then some children would smell, some children may smell different odors, and how they process that may be different. And then we got oral processing. These are all the sensory receptors in your mouth. We recognize temperature and taste, like yogurt and pretzels, sweet versus salty, bitter versus sour. So it's a lot of different sensory things going on. With oral dysfunction, it can cause gagging. So you may see some children go, or they may be picky eaters and refuse to eat certain things. They may be crying at meal times if they have difficulty processing their oral sensory. You may see them throw up or vomit. They may be delayed with eating like with forks or different things. So they may have to do purees and different things like that. They may also like unusual things together, like, well, I don't know, sauce on eggs kind of good, but like peanut butter on eggs. I don't know. But yeah, so food falling from their mouth. These are some of the dysfunctions you'll see when they have oral sensory disorder, the discrimination disorder. Just like this, but I don't know, because lemons are sweet. So I agree with this, baby. I will be like, oh no, oh no. All right, so we are going to go on a scavenger hunt. I want you to find something near you that explores one of the senses and explain. I'm going to call on 2 people, or if you choose to volunteer, you can. So for example, I have some spray. So I just found this next to me, and the spray it. Oh, it's actually hand sanitizer. Okay, well, I should never smelled that because it gave me a real reaction of smelling hand sanitizer. But the way it feels, it dissolves in my hand quickly. And so I didn't really have a huge reaction to it. Rather than this is also around me, and this is very visually stimulating, And I like it sometimes in my office when I need to get away from the computer screen. I kind of look at it, or sometimes I play with it with my hands, which it feels really soft and good. But I don't have like a negative reaction to it, or I don't have inappropriate response to this. So that's kind of what I want you guys to do. Look around your environment. And then if you want to volunteer to kind of explain what you see in your environment, then you can raise your hand. If not, I'm just going to call on somebody. All right. So I'm going to give you like 3 seconds. And I'm going to call on Emmanuel. And I'm going to call on Francis. Emmanuel and Francis. What's in your environment right now that you either will have an inappropriate response to or appropriate response to, kind of like the example I did? And then everybody else in the chat, you can kind of list what's in your environment as well, that you see that explores one of the senses that we just talked about. So even if you say water, or your phone, or your couch is soft, different things like that. So I'm going to wait for a little minute. And I think I called Emmanuel and Francis. Okay, Deborah, thanks for sharing. You have a piano around you and it feels smooth when pressing on it. Yeah, and I bet when you press the keys, your auditory processing is like, ooh, amazing. Depending if you play good. I'm not sure if you play good or not, Deborah, but but if it's like a bad sound, you're like, oh my gosh. But if it's like a good piano noise, I'm a piano, then then you may dance, or it may give you a response like that. Anybody else? Are my 2 volunteers ready? Or my people I told voluntold? You on a soft mattress? Okay, Emmanuel. I did call on you. You can unmute yourself if you want to and explain. And if not, it's okay. I'm gonna do one more. Can we put one? Okay. You have hair gel. It's wet, cold to touch, and smells sweet, purple in color. Okay, hair gel. Yes. So imagine if a child didn't like that sensation on their hair. What kind of reaction would they get? Maybe they wouldn't like to get their hair done, but you seem to enjoy hair gel. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna move on. And so with proprioceptive, proprioceptive brings the body together and helps the motor planning and body awareness. So this is the definition of how your body is in space. What's around you? How are you reacting to your body in different environments? And then this also determines how we put force on things. So for example, you may see a child that holds the pencil really hard because they have low proprioceptive understanding or low proprioceptive a mindset. So they may hold the pencil really hard and press really hard. And then they may have also difficulty with being able to have an idea and plan it out with proprioceptive. So more proprioceptive is that body awareness, where's your body in space, but also how you react to your body being in that space. And then with proprioceptive difficulties, this is what you'll see. They may have limited play skills. They may have difficulty initiating movements. So, and difficulty engaging. So they may have poor self-esteem. difficulty developing self-help skills, which is like brushing their teeth, washing their body. They may have risk-taking behaviors. Also chewing, and it may be like, so they may not have that proprioceptor to understand that. Also seeking deep pressure to give them understanding of where they are in space. And then they may also be over or under responsive to pain. Moving on to vestibular. This system helps to establish and revive memories. It works closely with taste. And then some children with vestibular issues can cause excessive movements, restless and distractibility, risk-taking activities. So vestibular has to do with your body awareness, and also comes into contribute with like muscle tone and how you are navigating, so that you may see a child spinning or swinging or jumping or constantly moving with vestibular difficulties. And the 8th one is interoceptive. This is the one that's mostly not talked about. And so this is the perception of sensations from inside the body. So this has to do with all of your organs, your heart, respiration, your diaphragm, your everything in internal organs. And so this provides us feedback. So for example, for a child, if they go to school and they ate something bad and they have a tummy ache, it's going to be hard for them to pay attention in school. It's going to be hard for them to pay attention to anybody because of their stomach ache. So think about you when you don't feel good. That is how interoception reacts to our sensory stimuli or sensory environment. Again, this is kind of the breakdown of the 8 senses. And now I'm going to open it up to any questions specifically about the 8 sensory topics that we talked about, like breaking down the 8 senses. Because yeah, so any questions before we move on to like interventions? You can put the questions in the chat or you can raise your hand. Yes, I'll be able to send these slides. No worries. Any questions thus far? Or could I keep going? Just let me know. Awesome. All right, so we're going to take a small break because we're going to stand up if you are in a stand up appropriate place, and we're going to shake our sillies out, okay? This is one of the activities I do with my kids when they're losing my attention or they're really tired. We shake our sillies out. So we're just gonna do a little bit of it, okay? So you literally follow what this guy and this kid is doing, okay? All right, so I hope you're ready to shake your sillies out. I can't see y'all shake your sillies out because you didn't turn on your cameras, but I expect you to be shaking your sillies out. All right. Shake, shake, shake our sillies out. Shake, shake, shake our sillies out. Wiggle our waggles away. We're gonna clap, clap, clap our crazies out. Clap, clap, clap our crazies out. Clap, clap, clap our crazies out. Wiggle our waggles away. We're gonna jump, jump, jump our jiggles out. Jump, jump, jump our jiggles out. Jump, jump, jump our jiggles out. Wiggle our waggles away. We're gonna jog, jog, jog our jitters out. Jog, jog, jog our jitters out. Jog, jog, jog our jitters out. Wiggle our waggles away. We're gonna stretch, stretch, stretch our stretchies out. Stretch, stretch, stretch our stretchies out. Stretch, stretch, stretch our stretchies out. Wiggle our waggles away. We're gonna yawn, yawn, yawn our yawnies out. Yawn our yawnies out. Yawn, yawn, yawn our yawnies out. Wiggle our waggles away. Awesome. Well, I hope that was fun. You might like this one better though. But let's finish, guys. All right. So that was our mini break of shaking our sillies out. Okay. I'm gonna keep going though. So here it comes to the real question. What should we do? What should we do? Let's go into it. You are a sensory detective. So I need you to put on your detective imagination detective costume, because you are a sensory detective, and that's where it starts. Because you have all this information now about the 8 senses, and yes, they sometimes collide and coincide with each other, but you have the basics about what sensory is, what sensory processing this is, what sensory processing disorder is, and then each sensory aspect and what you may see in a dysfunction. So now it's time for you to be the sensory detective. And that means that, one, you anticipate possible stressors or triggers. But to do that, you have to know your client. You have to familiarize yourself with that child to know his or her sensory habit. And then you pay attention to that. That's what makes you a sensory detective. After you pay attention to all of that information from the child, you'll be able to make a plan. This may be the intervention aspect of it, but it's also it doesn't stop with just OT. It will come to the parent as well for a home program. And this may be exploring fidgets or music, and we'll get to more of the interventions, but I want you to learn how to be a sensory detective first, because if you don't know your client, it'll be hard for you to advise how to help specifically with whatever sensory issues they may be having in order to help them. Cool? So you are the sensory detective. Some activities that provide multiple things like vestibular, proprioceptive, and tactile stimulation are designed to meet children's specific developmental needs. So you may see a child that has issues not only with tactile, but also vestibular, with oral, so different things. So that's why you need to identify and be the detective first to understand what they specifically need. And then you are designed to gradually increase the demand. So what I'm trying to say is, as a child matures and you are teaching them sensory strategies, you are able to modify as they change, as they gradually become, as they gradually have appropriate responses to whatever sensory intervention that you have given them. Also, there's emphasis on the automatic sensory processing, which is how we are responding to a child. So that, and I'm going to talk about that. That's the difference between like sensory and behavior. So how are we responding to our clients? So when they have a tantrum and a breakdown and mom is trying to hold them, and now mom is saying, well, you told me to do bear hugs, when they have, when they had a reaction to something that they didn't like, but that wouldn't maybe not be the appropriate time to do bear hugs. So we have to go into automatic, again, being a sensory detective to know in certain moments how we respond to our child. I hope I'm making sense. So this is how I plan it out in my head. One, I always want to make it fun. So I have a toolkit of different OT strategies that I do for different children. Of course, every child is different when it comes to sensory, and that's why you have to know your client. But no matter what, I always try to make it fun. Just like this, this conversation we're having today, just like I'm explaining sensory to you, but I want to make sure that you walk away with the information, because I know who my clientele is, which is you, but I also want to make it fun for you. And so with that, you make a plan. So know your client, make it fun, but also have a plan in mind about what you're going to do for your client. And then at the same time, you have to be consistent. So some children come twice a week, some kids come once a week to clinics, or parents sometimes do the brushing protocol or different interventions that we tell them to do, but they're not consistent. And that has an impact on a child. So again, know your clients, know your child, discuss, make a plan, be consistent. So this is just a little quote. If you understand your child, or you understand the client, if you understand their sensory needs, being aware of that can empower them to prevent sensory overload and prevent various behaviors. I hope that makes sense. So if we know it, we know them, and we're able to understand them, then it empowers them to know how to manage their behavior and prevent sensory overload. Sensory is complicated, but it's not that complicated. So this is where I actually need some true participation because I want to know where you guys are. So we're going to explore different aspects of sensory. So with this one, I want to know what is going on here. What do you think this child is thinking? What do you think, how is he processing? Is he giving a negative reaction, a positive reaction? What type of sensory stimulation is he getting? Could I have a volunteer to explain that? Oh, sorry about the video. I didn't know you couldn't see. Sorry.
Says the northern Ukrainian city has had its first point.
So any volunteer, I'm gonna call on Dora. Dora. Hi, Dora. No, this is Margaret. Since you're open, since you're online, Margaret, and you're unmuted, you have to answer the question. You are the lucky one. So my question is, how are we exploring this sensory, like what is this child feeling? What sensories, how is he processing his sensory information? What's happening in this picture? How can you be a sensory detective for this child? Margaret? Margaret? Okay, maybe not. All right. Jeffrey. Jeffrey Larte. Oh, wait. Martins. You're okay. There we go. Miss Williams, please help me out.
Hi. So it seems like there's a lot of obviously a lot of oral input going on. So tactile, lots of tactile sensations going on within his mouth. There's bright lights as well. So there's some visual stimulation going on. We can't hear it, but there's probably a lot of sound as well. So yeah, he looks like he's enjoying the experience because he doesn't look distressed. So, but he might be distressed. I don't know, but from this image, he doesn't look so distressed. And obviously know where there's a bit of proprioceptive going on potentially as well, like things are going in his mouth. So he has to be aware of that, that going on. But yeah, that's just a guess.
Awesome. No, that was great. That was great. Thank you so much. All right, we're gonna do another one. What about this one? Mary, since you're talking, Mary, tell me what's happening here. Mary Abba. Oh, you muted yourself back. Okay. Anybody else want to tell? This one's an easy one. Tell me what's happening here. Amelia, can you help me out?
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Hanson.
sorry, I was talking to my son, so I didn't even hear what you said. I do apologize. I'm sorry.
Oh, Hanson. Who's explaining this one? Either Amelia, Mary, or Hanson.
Hello.
This was an easy one.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm Jackson.
Hey, Jackson.
Hi. I think this is a tactile stimulation that's been done to the child who has tactile hypersensitivity.
Awesome.
So,
Thank you.
all right.
Correct. All right, we're gonna do, let's do this one. Last one. Any volunteers? Thank you, Jackson. Oh, okay, even.
I think this is vestibular sensibility, because which is mainly working here since the kid is spinning.
Yes.
And he looks like he enjoy it.
He's enjoying. Yes, great job. Thank
And
you so much,
some
Even. Thank you.
proprioceptive also. Yeah, thanks.
Most definitely. How would it be proprioceptive as well?
The way he holds the bar and he's conscious about his posture, how he's sitting, and all the information regarding his body posture.
Correct, correct. Nice. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So how does a child cope with sensory information? I'm going to go into now sensory strategies, okay? And so we're going to go through different strategies, all right? Basically, I'm going to go through a series of calming and alerting activities that you can do. Also, again, remember that you are the sensory detective. So it's one thing that I can give you all the strategies, but you need to know your client to know what's appropriate or what's inappropriate. Does that make sense? So, okay. So finding sensory activities that are motivating. Again, I'm going through alerting and calming activities that you can do for each child. I'm going to go through a series of different situations as well to give you more perspective of when I will use different sensory strategies for different situations. But again, you have to know your client. You are the sensory detective. All right, here we go. So in the chat, you can either put yes or no. Does sensory have an impact on a child's behavior? I think we know the obvious answer is in the chat.
The answer is yes.
Yes, there you go. Sensory does have an impact. In the same way we have little habits to maintain attention, children also have certain behaviors. However, children's behaviors are often more exaggerated. I don't know, sometimes I'm a little extra too myself, but children are often more so exaggerated as the nervous system is young and the sensory information is kind of new to them. So with that, we're going to go through a series of different situations, okay? So how we will interpret sensory needs and behaviors, all right? So this is, I don't know, let's name him Jimmy. Jimmy look mad. If I kick and punch and bang things, I get lots of information to my muscles and joints to help me feel better. So Jimmy has just come to therapy and he had a hard day at school, and now he at the clinic. But as soon as he walk in, he want to kick you, he want to bang, he just all over the place. So this can also mean that he's looking for body awareness or touch pressure to his joints and muscles. So when you kick something, you get that impact, you get that pressure that you're looking for. So it may not be that he's having a behavior, it may not be that he's seeking sensory information from his joints by kicking, by banging, by hitting things to help him feel more regulated. So for situations like this, I will say, playing on crash mats, and I'm gonna bring it back to home where you can put a whole bunch of pillows together or get a mattress or get the couch sofa things, whatever they're called, and lay blankets and build it up for them to crash if you don't have a particular crash mat. We can make our own. Also roll it in the blanket. So you lay the blanket out, you'll lay Jimmy on his tummy or you'll lay Jimmy on his back and you'll wrap him like a burrito. Wrap, roll him in the blanket. Also, he can hug cushions. bumping games with pillows. So sometimes I even tell my kids to hold a pillow, and then I have a pillow, and we're kind of like bumping into each other with the pillow to give him that impact that he's looking for. Also pushing, pulling, carrying heavy objects, bear hugs, and firm cuddles. I hope this makes sense. So for those, but you are also the sensory detective to know when Jimmy is actually having bad behavior versus when he's seeking you are the sensory detective. Let's move on. Sometimes with looking at objects or people, enjoyment with all this is the child is basically saying, I'm learning a lot about things by looking at them and experimenting with looking. I like when objects are in clear patterns, and I can pay more attention when things are in visual order. So when you see a child stimming or staring at different objects, or have a fixation on how things look, this is what they're trying to tell you. And so this is what I will do. I would provide sensory activities such as looking games with like magnifying, binoculars, kind of feed into what they're seeking for. Playing playing I Spy, like what can you see? So basically having them identify different objects around the room. Creating visual order, so such as like a lot of my patients really benefit from like schedules. So I go, first we're doing this, number 2 we're doing this, number 3 we're doing it, and it gives them so much regulation and also decreases their anxiety for our OT session to be able to know what's first, what's next, what's coming. But it's also visually pleasing for them, because then they'll come back and say, Teacher Bree, we did this one, and scratch out one. Also playing hide and seek, activities in front of the mirror, movement games, and then also using pictures would be helpful in a child that likes visual order or visual stimulation. All right. So when you see a child that's yelling, loud, hitting objects, jumping, or spinning, they may be saying to you, I love rhythm. I love hearing the vibration of my own voice. I love hearing sounds and vibrations from objects that I hit. And I love the feeling of moving really fast and spinning round and round. So this is what they're trying to tell you when this happens. And what I typically do is give them appropriate strategies to fill their sensory need, which is singing along with activities. So sometimes I tell parents to say, do this when they have a hard time brushing their teeth. Brush, 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 brush your teeth. And so the kid is like, brush your teeth. Or clapping and singing songs, using instruments, drums, piano, different things like that. Swinging, trampolines, rocking horses, even massagers. So we'll keep going. Also with mouthing foods and non-objects, your kid may be saying, I learn about objects if I can feel it in my mouth. So I don't know if you've treated kids that mouth different things that are non-food, or sucking on their fingers, and they may sucking on their like the sleeve of their shirt or something like that. They are saying to you, I learned about objects by putting it in my mouth as well as my hands. I can feel calm and in control when I have something in my mouth, and it helps me stay still. So we may see it as a behavior, but what they're doing is filling their own sensory need. So we can give them other appropriate ways to do that, such as providing safe objects like chew toys or foods that are chewy to suck on while they're being still. Providing tactile games such as covering their hands with different materials, cotton, wool, sandpaper, paint, Play-Doh, different things like that. Using various textures to stimulate their hands. So teaching them about different textures, about different sizes and different things like that as well. Also playing mouth games. I love to do, well, with the pandemic, this has been kind of hard because we're all wearing masks, but I love to do mouth games where they imitate me, like, you know, and sometimes they have a great time and you may sing a song with it, also blowing bubbles, different instrument tubes. I like to do a lot of straw games, rubbing objects with their tongue. Sometimes we may try to make the letters with their tongue. So A. So I probably look crazy, but that's some of the strategies that I would do for this situation. And then lastly, if some children appear lost or they kind of passive, so you may see some kids not really actively engaging with their peers, or kind of not being in tune with them. So this is what I would say. We can give them calming strategies, such as using pictures of places where to go, playing lineup games, like going on a train, following the leader. So we want them to get engaged with their environment, but also providing them their sensory need of kind of like, okay, no, this is too much. I don't like when things around me move and it gets me upset. And then also providing the child with something to hold, such as a photo or a visual toy or something in crowded situations what they don't like. All right, so I want to know what's in your sensory toolbox. What I mean by sensory toolbox is with each session that we do, like with a child, I have my go-to things that I want to do, and I modify it by each child. So in my OT sensory toolbox, I have an obstacle course. I know I can make an obstacle course out of anything, anywhere, anybody, you can make an obstacle course out of anything. So in my OT sensory toolbox is an obstacle course. I also have bubbles. And I would say my third one in my OT sensory toolbox is like Play-Doh or something like tactile. What about you? Can I have a volunteer? What's in your OT sensory toolbox? What are your go-to things that you use for sensory with your patients? And feel free to raise your hand, or I'm gonna pick on Mildred. I'm gonna pick on you. Mildred.
Hello, Dr. Bree.
Hey.
My OT sensory box, I think I also like Play-Doh. There's therapy party. Of course, most of the kids love that. Some marbles, you know, together make a nice sound. And then what do I have? I have Chewies. I do have there's sand, more like a sensory bin of things that children can touch, run their hands through. Not so many because we are under-resourced, but I always have therapy around. It seems most of the kids love that. And then I realized that silicone sponge. Kids seem to like silicone sponge. I don't know why, but those that seek a variety of tactile input, I make sure that something like that is available for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I love bubble wrap. I'm looking at the comments as well. Bubble wrap. Rebecca wrote sensory brush, bubbles, Play-Doh, chewable toys, play sand and beads. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mildred, for sharing your OT sensory toolbox. And thanks, guys, for writing in the comments as well. All right, so some of the sensory bottle. Yes, that's easy to make too. So we're going to do alerting activities. So for vestibular, my go-to alerting activities are rotary movement, which you have to be careful with sometimes, bouncing, and then any movement that is fast and unpredictable. So I usually use alerting activities for children that have like low arousal level, those hyposensitive kids where it's kind of like, all right. So I don't know if you look, if some of you guys follow me on Instagram, I recently just posted one of my babies who has low arousal level, babies meaning my client, I don't have any children, But some of my baby who has low arousal level, and he needed to be engaged in learning activity. So I quickly picked him up, kind of raised him in the air and brought him back down, raised him in the air and brought him back down. And that changed his whole environment, that he was smiling, he was happy. But at the time I knew he needed some alerted activities. Again, you are the sensory detective to understand that. Auditory will be loud, abrupt noise. So if they need that alerting. So while I was lifting my patient up, I was going, woo, and he was able to enjoy that too. So that was an alerting activity. And then with tactile, cold temperatures. So of course we all get stimulated by cold temperatures. Our alerting activities. I have a list of alerting and calming activities. And again, if you need it, then you can email me and send it to me, but I will share, it will be on the slides. So I'll share the slides with you. But if you want the printout of alerting and calming activities, I can. And I explain it. So this is usually what I give to parents, understanding alerting. And then sometimes if I know the kid doesn't need like alerting activities, I'll take the learning activities off and just give a parent calming activities. So let's talk about calming activities. So for vestibular, I usually do like inversion, linear. So that's like kind of like rocking back and forth, like slow movements. Nope, that's wrong. Not unpredictable. That was for the other one. Sorry. Yeah, so inversion, like rocking. For auditory, soft voices, rhythmic music. And then for tactile, you have deep pressure, crashing, the wrapping in the burrito, weighted lap pads, different things like that. Cool. Again, I have this visual or this handout that I usually give to parents about alerting or calming. There is a question. Is there a technique to spinning to avoid spinning a child visit? Yes. How not to over, okay. So usually my technique is knowing like, you really have to be observant of the child. And I feel like each situation is difficult because some kids can tolerate so much spinning. They can tolerate spinning, wow, for such a long period of time without having those aversions. And aversions meaning you may see them kind of go, or just like if we were to spin, what is your natural reaction? You'll be like, whoo, hold on. Or you may see their eyes have a little nystagmus, which is going back and forth. So I wouldn't say there is a special technique for spinning. I think it's truly up to you as the professional to understand what's too much and what's too less for the child. And that I think that comes back to being your sensory detective. But being careful is best because with spinning, that can also lead to some like negative aversions, like throwing up or different things like that. So I would say with spinning, that's up to you a little bit. That will have to be your preference of what's happening. Yeah. And that's why sensory is so complicated because of that aspect of you have to know your client. I hope I answered you, Mildred.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. And then is trampoline is good for vestibular and gravitational insecurity. Okay, so for trampoline is amazing. I love the trampoline, but sometimes for gravitational insecurity, again, it depends on the child. So if they're having a whole meltdown about going on this trampoline, I would say start smaller. Start with maybe just doing like you picking them up, doing jumps, or them going up different steps, or maybe like standing on an unbalanced surface for anybody that has gravitational insecurity. Yeah, that's a lot. So it's good as the child develops or as the child gets comfortable and improves with the gravitational insecurity. But I wouldn't put them on a trampoline. Vestibular is great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If there is, I'll look in the chat. So this is another sensory strategy that I sensory diets for probably Jackson. Break it down each patient. Our process usually is with know your client, and the know your client is when we are looking.
I think she's probably experiencing some network challenges, but I'm sure she will join us very soon. She's having network challenges. She's joining short. While we wait for her to join, we can be putting down our questions so that when she comes, we would ask her and it will make things flow smoothly. We apologize for the inconvenience.
Amado.
Admin, this thing don't finish. In data don't finish.
So sorry about that, guys. We all know network issues. My bad. Please.
Well, welcome back.
I need to share my screen. Thank you. Okay, awesome. All right, let's get back into it. Sorry about that. So yeah, like I was saying, another sensory strategy that we do is the sensory diet, and I create a particular one for each individual client that I have. This just allows parents to understand more, and then I go through the sensory diet with parents, with teachers, and I broke it down to like morning, afternoon, and evening for easier for parents. And so this is another example of like a sensory diet that was created for another kid. But this is also after understanding. So I created this after he did the sensory profile. And then I was able to get to know him a little bit better. And then I was able to create him a sensory diet. So sensory diet takes a little bit of time. You really have to know your patient and then work closely with the parent about the home program of the sensory diet. And this is a cool visual of calming activities. It initially started with me making it for a parent, and then a lot of parents start asking for it. So I made a small visual about what calming activities would look like and how you can do different calming activities different days of the week. Also, play can help. Play helps with sensory processing a lot. So play is the major arena in which sensory motor behavior takes place. So think about all the things happening through play. Play is probably one of my biggest things that I do with children when understanding their sensory needs. Play. Definitely. And play provides sensory processing opportunities to happen. So I'm gonna open it up again. I'm sorry about my connection issues, but I'm gonna open it up to any questions in the chat. I'm gonna wait about 1 minute and see if you guys have any questions thus far. And then from that, we're gonna be able to identify some strategies for your clients and to benefit from. So that now consists of any specific questions. But for now, any questions about anything that I previously talked about, or any questions thus far before we move on to the sensory strategies? All right. Now, no questions? Everybody good? All right. So I want you guys to identify 3 sensory strategies that you will do for your client and what they will benefit from. And we're going to discuss why. So I'm going to give you scenarios. This first one, our first scenario is, let's name him Barnabas. This is Barnabas. Barnabas is an oral craver. So he really loves having something in his hand. He really loves always having something in his mouth. Sometimes it's not non-food objects, sometimes it's food objects, but he gets a aggressive reaction when he doesn't have that input, when he doesn't have that oral input or that tactile input. So I want to know from your, okay, I'm gonna answer your question, Ann. From your perspective, what would we do for, what do we call him, Barnabas? What would we do for this child who oral seeking, kind of aggressive if you mess with him with his oral stimulation? What do you think that we should do? Of course, I'm going to tell you, but I want to know what you think as well. Anybody? Anybody? You can also write in the chat. Okay. Yes, that's exactly what I would do for this child. I'll give him a chew toy. I would definitely give him a chew toy for him to know that this is his personal object to use, because you see somebody is reaching for his chicken and he like, oh no, get back. And so I would definitely enter a chew toy. But the chew toy also sometimes have bumpy or they have smooth surfaces. And so that would be great for his tactile input as well. So yes, that's right on point. To answer your question about the sensory diet only containing calming activities. So usually for hyperactive children, I majority do all calming activities. However, I also put a mix of things that the child may benefit from as far as this stimulation. So if they love jumping, if they love running, if they love doing all that stuff, or if they're really hyperactive and need help, can't stop moving, I will give them appropriate opportunities to be able to do that. So that's me facilitating them in a rhythmic way to provide what they're seeking for. So I will identify first what the hyperactive for rotary movement, if they're seeking just to be moving constantly, child, but for home, with parents wanting to be able to, so in the morning, if the child is hyperactive in the morning, I would do deep pressure, give electric toothbrush, different things like that, to be able to give calming strategies for the child. But throughout the day, I will also give them the sensory that they need if they need to run, but I would do it in a structured way. So sometimes hyperactive children need structure to run and jump, but you're going to run and jump in this structured way. So they may benefit from one-on-one sports, such as like swimming or karate or different things like that. I hope that made sense. But for my parents, I'm giving them the calming strategies to help at home, but also educating them about opportunities that they need to take with the child to give them structured needs for their sensory and the hyperactivity. What can be done to help children who are not able to tolerate shaving and brushing of teeth? So for children that have intolerance for shaving, children are shaving. Is this an adult? Okay, let's just stick to brushing teeth. I don't know about shaving. All right. So for brushing their teeth, I try to make it the fun as possible. So sometimes I do like pictures, not sensory pictures, but visual pictures to let them know the routine. Oh, shaving. Okay, cutting hair. Woo, okay. I was like, shaving. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's start with brushing teeth. So with brushing teeth, I usually give a visual ahead of time about what is about to happen with the teeth brushing. And then depending on the kid, sometimes they need an electric toothbrush, sometimes they need softer bristles, sometimes they may need bubble gum or different flavored toothpaste. And then I think it's about patience with brushing your teeth. Also make it fun and engaging. So a lot of times I'm singing with kids that can't tolerate brushing their teeth, and I'm making the occurrence of brushing their teeth fun. And also I let them hold the toothbrush. Like it may be unsanitary, but I'm gonna like let the bristles touch their finger, let the bristles touch their cheek, let the back of the toothbrush touch their lip, and then slowly engage the toothbrush within their mouth. So it'll be a process of maybe showing them some visuals, slowly warming them up to brushing their teeth, and seeing how they react to brushing their teeth for kids that don't tolerate. So you need to warm it up. I would say one thing not to do is force. I tell parents all the time, please do not force your children to do. I know toothbrushing is a necessity. However, their sensory is also going to be impacted, and then you're going to have negative reactions to being forced to brush their teeth. If that also with barber cutting. So this has been a big topic, and I've seen a lot of parents struggle with having children get their hair cut or having girls get their hair done, because it is actually very it's a very stimulating occurrence. So for children that don't tolerate the brushing of hair, again, I introduce some type of visual to let them know the experience. They may need a social story. They may need a YouTube video to explain what's happening to their head. You may need to do it first to show them, if you're a guy, you want to cut your hair, if you're a girl, you want to cut your hair, whatever. You may need to show them first that you are tolerating this, and they need that visual to understand what's about to happen. And then again, you may need to put the clippers on the back of their hand or slowly on their shoulder. It may need to put the clipper near their ear, like warm them up. There's just sometimes a lot, we kind of force kids into like, oh, okay, now we're about to cut our hair. And we need to let them know that this is a safe thing that's happening and you're not going to be hurt. And this is the sound that it's going to make. This is what it's going to feel like. So warming them up to the experience, and then doing other activities outside of them getting their haircut. So even if you buy like those massagers that vibrate, you may have to put that on their head prior to give them warm up, or put it in their hands, or do different activities to help them be able to grow into tolerating getting their hair cut. How can you help a child stop snatching objects from others? So Deborah, that's a complicated one. I would need to understand why they're snatching. What type of objects are they snatching, and what is the stimulus for them snatching? Because in my head, I can say that a child is snatching objects maybe because they want the object, or is it a behavior behavior or is it actually a sensory thing? And what type of objects are they snatching? Is it a sharing issue? So I think that goes into me being a sensory detective, and I would have to understand what exactly the child is snatching. I hope I'm asking the right questions. So Deborah, you can feel free to unmute yourself to kind of give me more background so I can be able to help you appropriately. Deborah, you can unmute yourself. If the child likes snatching toys or toffees. So again, I think that will have to go into, is the child, is this a behavior, or are they snatching it? Why are they snatching it? That's what I would need to know. Like, what would be, are they have difficulty with sharing? Why are they snatching the toy or the toffees from other people? Is this an uncontrolled behavior? Is this a learned behavior? Once they get the toy, what do they do with the toy? Are they, so that's what I was saying. If you can unmute yourself to kind of explain to me more about the situation happening. So I want to do this one. What alerted activities would you give to this child? What alerted activities would you give to her? Loud music. Yeah. Anything else? Loud music. Anything else, guys? How you would provide clapping games? Yes. Lots of movement. Yes. Twirling games. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Well, unpredicted fast movement. Awesome. Okay. So let's just call him Jimmy. And Jimmy has, sometimes the lights can be visually stimulating for him, overstimulating for him, and different things like that. Yeah, so let's think about how these all the things that you said are awesome with alerting activities for him. And let's do this one. Last one. What would you say is going on here? And how could, okay, so for him, he has some auditory issues. He's like, why are you talking so loud? What's happening? So what would you do for him with his auditory processing difficulty? How would you provide calming activities to him? Awesome. Talking softly, yes. For him, yes. Whispering, yes. So I will do more like warm-up activities for auditory process. So I'll give him different sounds. We'll play different music instruments to see how he reacts. I'll also evaluate if he may need headphones and loud spaces, or he may need like earplugs and loud spaces to help him tolerate. So what would you expect from therapy? Sensory integrative approach to therapy is the most successful. You'll see parents reporting that their child is better put together, better regulated, or they'll be more assured that they're more organized, or in their hard to say, but that's what I expect from therapy to be able to, when providing sensory strategies to parents, but also to the child. And so what can parents do? Also, parents can recognize that it exists, that sensory exists, and that it plays an important role in the development of a child. Also, provide an enriched environment that will foster healthy growth and mature. Excuse me. Okay. Also analyzing. So as you are the sensory detective, you also teach your parents how to be a sensory detective too. So that's all about education. So you teach parents how to watch, respond, and react to their child based on different sensory aspects. So here's some of the sensory tools that I tell parents to do at home: exercise balls, rocking chairs. Some of this stuff you can make. You don't have to buy from a store. You can make some of this stuff. A lot of things I make, especially in Botswana and Kenya, because kind of like what you said, Mildred, earlier about the stuff I make, which is fun, which is like the pictures of the balloons, stress balls, and stuff like that. And then a lot of times I create sensory corners for some of like my kids that have like auditory processing, or they don't like large crowds or different things like that. So we create sensory corners for them. And then sometimes, and this is in the home that I'll do this sensory corner, and then teach parents how to interact with their child in this sensory corner space. Yeah. So here I'm like, this is one of my patients, Mario, and I put some of his favorite things in his sensory corner. And then Mario went underneath the blanket because after a certain amount of time, he didn't want to be stimulated by the light anymore. And so he likes being in dark places and different things like that. So he was able to go under, and mom was happy. And again, education is the whole throughout the whole process. But I also have to know my client, to know what they like and know what they would not like. So this is some examples of like some of the sensory corners. And so we do not want to make the world a difficult place for our kids. We want to make the world a safe space for our children. So that's why I say we don't want to force them to do some things or different sensory things. We can't force them to do it. We have to make the world a safe space for them. And though sometimes sensory versus behavior is complicated, because sensory is complicated. However, our main goal is to know our patient, to be able to create a safe space in the world. So I want to know what's in your community. Like, what resources in Ghana do you guys have community that contribute to like a jumping gym, or like where they have trampolines? Like, what in your community do you guys have that you use or you recommend parents do? Because sometimes I find it hard, especially in Botswana, where parents say, well, I want to go I want to take them to a place that has trampolines, or I want to take them to a place where they can do arts and crafts for children with disabilities. So I want to know if you guys have any resources in your community that you can share with not only us, but you also share with parents about where they can take their child to explore their sensory. Is there any places in your communities that are sensory appropriate for some of your children that you see or some kids? Okay, so there's some playgrounds, but higher income people can afford to go to the playgrounds. That's unfortunate. But I guess it's a community resource. Anything else that's around that is a community resource? When I was there, I went to an amusement park. They had like go-karting, they had like games. I don't remember where it was. Anybody else? What's in your community? Mildred, you got something?
Oh, please, sorry about that. No.
Oh, okay. All right. So I wanted to kind of create a list of resources, but clearly we need to get some more resources in Ghana for our kids with sensory processing to have a place to go, a safe place to go, to release some other than like our clinics. Like I want to create like places for them to be able to go to, but if there's no places, we got work to do then. So I want to know, what did you take away? I didn't really go into detail about the sensory profile, which is how I evaluate sensory as well. And it's basically a checklist that you give parents, and they will write if they most likely to do this, not likely to do this. And that's how I also get the detective. I didn't really go into detail about that because I wanted to kind of break down what sensory was and then the strategies. But if you, during OT school, they should have taught you about that aspect, the sensory profile for toddlers, for 7 to whatever, 14, and then you have the adult one as well. But overall, I want to know what you took away from this. We're about to wrap up, so do you have any other standing questions? Or I hope it was beneficial and you guys enjoyed. So any takeaways or any other questions? Thank you, Mildred. Oh yeah, picky eaters are like, it's like a whole. So the question is, I want to know about what you do for children who are picky eaters and prefer specific textures. Wow. So I did like a continuing education course for myself about, so I basically did SOS, which is sensory eating. And so for picky eaters, it's that's a topic of like, that's a whole nother thing we can go into. But what I would like to say is that for picky eaters, it's also ways of exploration. So specifically with textures, I would introduce various textures and not force them, but more so start with play. So it's a process you go through with introducing different textures of foods to a child. So you may start with just by touching it, playing with it. You might also Now you kind of like making messy play with it. Then all of a sudden it gets on your nose. Then all of a sudden it gets on the chin, and then it gets in the lips. And then you put it in the mouth. You may have to mix different textures and smoothies and different things like that. So with picky eaters is actually very, it's a very complicated but also fun topic to talk about. But that's a whole nother presentation with picky eaters and like the oral sensory aspect of food. But to just say start with like play-based activities with various textures and then leading up to the mouth. Thanks, guys. Okay. Awesome. Yes. Awesome. So thank you. Thank you. If there's no more questions, I just wanted to say thanks, guys. It's been an amazing time. Feel free to email me. I will also send the slides out to you guys so that you can get more information. Feel free to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all that stuff. But yeah, it's been an amazing evening with you guys, and I just want to thank you. I want to thank you, Occupational Therapy Association of Ghana. I've really truly enjoyed connecting with you guys. And I hope that we can continue with our partnership and our connection and our collaboration, not only for the association, but for the community overall. So thanks, guys, so much. And here are some of the references I used to make the slides. So yeah. Awesome.
Oh, thank you so
guys
much.
for participating.
Thank you so much, Dr. P. I mean, this has been nothing short of amazing. I know that a lot of us learned so much. We learned a lot from the presentation you put together, and thank you. I think there should be a part 2 of this, and I know that my members will most definitely be in agreement with this. We have to get a part 2 of this.
Yeah.
Yes, so that we explore, the sensory in depth, in an in-depth manner. I think for the sensory profile, while a lot of us have been using it, I also feel like that a lot of us who are still coming up who need that information. And for some reason, Dr. Bree seems to explain it in a fun way that everyone gets to understand it. So I would love that we could get another one. But I'm just putting it out there. But I know that my members most definitely would want a part 2 of this. So we'll be in discussion to see how that goes. Okay. And thank you so much. We really appreciate this. Thank you and God bless.
I appreciate you guys too.
Okay.
Looking forward to seeing all of you sometime in person since Ghana is open now.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay $150 to come in no more for me at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This is a lot of information about sensory, and it's so much that we can delve into. So I brushed on the surface of sensory. But I mean, we can literally talk for hours about different aspects and how they coincide, what strategies we can do for each children, learning more about the sensory profile, learning more about oral motor and how all of that connects with each other. So yeah, so it's definitely can be a part 2. But if you guys have any questions anytime, please feel free to contact me. I'm always available. I'm always open to communicating and mentoring and helping anyone. So
thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
I also want to thank everyone who participated. We have to take a picture actually. Please, let's all turn on our cameras and then take a nice picture. We have to take it for future reference. Yes. So can we turn on our cameras? Let's see the people behind. Okay. It seems only a few of us have. Okay, yes. Let's keep turning it on. Hey, you're all looking lovely. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so on the count of 3, let's everyone say cheese, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Cheese. There we go. I think there are 2 pages, so let me also take a picture of the other one. Good. So thank you all so much for taking time off your busy schedules. Thank you once again, Dr. Bree. Hopefully
Thank
we'll
you so
do this
much.
again. Have a wonderful weekend.
You
And
too,
talk to you.
guys. Don't party too much.
Yes, and talk to you later. Bye.
Alrighty.
Bye,
Bye.
bye, 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 bye.
Bye.